He called it a joke. I called it the last thing he'd ever say about my wife in public. I never paid much attention to Greg when we first moved in. He was just another suburban guy with a manicured lawn and a loud laugh that carried too far at neighborhood events. His house was 3 down from ours, with solar panels, a fire pit out back, and a spotless driveway that he washed every Saturday at 7:30 sharp. He waved every time we passed, hosted barbecues twice a year, chaired the homeowners board. On paper, Greg was the kind of neighbor you should want. Friendly, helpful, present. But something about him always felt performative, like he was trying too hard to be liked. Claire picked up on it faster than I did. She said his jokes had a bite to them. I told her he was just awkward. I did not want to believe anything worse. The first time it happened, it was subtle. We were at his summer barbecue. Burgers, beers, lawn chairs arranged like a showroom. Claire wore a sundress I love. She looked incredible. Greg handed her a drink and said with a smile, "Careful, Dan, if she keeps showing up like that, someone might steal her." It was delivered with a wink and a laugh. She laughed too. Polite. But when we got home, she said she did not like it. Said it made her feel like a trophy. I told her it was just Greg being Greg. That I would talk to him if it got worse. That was mistake number 1. The second time was at the grocery store parking lot. Claire was loading bags into the car. I was inside paying. Greg just happened to be there. He walked over, leaned on the cart, and said, "How does your husband let you out of the house looking like that?" Claire said he meant it as a compliment, but her eyes told me she felt something different. I started to feel it too, the way his compliments always landed sideways, the way he only said them when I was not around, the way he acted like charm gave him a pass to be invasive. I did not confront him, I stayed polite, distant, watching. That was mistake number 2. Then came the third time, and that was when everything changed. It was Greg's fall cookout, bigger than the summer one. More neighbors, more wine. Claire made her pumpkin tart that everyone loves. She brought it over just as Greg was lighting the fire pit. He looked at her, then turned to the group and said, "Careful everyone, Claire's out here stealing hearts and burning pies. Someone should tell Dan to keep an eye on that one." People laughed. I did not. Claire smiled, but her shoulders stiffened. I caught her eyes across the yard. Something snapped in me then. Not anger. Not yet. Just something colder. Clearer. A line. I walked up to Greg, leaned in and said, "That's the last time you talk about my wife like that." He laughed. Said, "Relax, it is just a joke." I said, "No, Greg, what comes next is not a joke." Then I walked away. That night Claire asked what I meant. I told her I was done watching him get away with it. That I was going to handle it my way. She asked if I was going to fight him. I said no. I am going to show him what it looks like when someone plays perfect and forgets the world is full of mirrors. Greg did not change after that night. If anything, he got bolder. Maybe he thought I was bluffing. Or maybe he was too used to no one ever pushing back. Either way, the next time I saw him, he was all smiles again, acting like nothing happened, talking loud in the driveway with a beer in hand, asking if we were coming to the next board meeting. I smiled, nodded. But in my head, something had already started. I was done reacting. Now I was watching. I started with the obvious. Greg's social media was a curated mirror. Family man. Father of 2. Charity photos. Gym check-ins. All shine. All surface. But the deeper I looked, the easier it became to spot the cracks. Late-night likes and flirty comments under posts from women he definitely was not supposed to be talking to. Comments that looked innocent until you saw the same women tagging him in late-night photos on other platforms. Birthday dinners with no wife present. Shared emojis under private jokes. I took screenshots. Dated them. Saved them in a folder on a flash drive I kept at work. Just in case. From there I started watching the street. Greg left early 3 days a week, supposedly for volunteer work. But one morning I followed him. No rush, no drama. Just stayed 3 cars behind. Watched him pull into a coffee shop on the edge of town. 20 minutes later, a woman I did not recognize got into his passenger seat. She stayed for an hour, then left. He drove home. Same route. Next week, same woman. Different shirt. Different lie. I documented it. Photos. Dates. License plate. I checked public filings. Greg had written off thousands in expenses under the neighborhood association. Reimbursements for purchases that had no records. Supplies for events that never happened. I spoke to 2 vendors. Neither had ever heard of him. I took notes. Made copies. I was not angry. I was not even interested in revenge. I just wanted truth. Clean. Unfiltered. Enough to pull off the mask. The real work began when I started talking to people. Quietly. Casually. I asked around about the last community fundraiser Greg claimed to organize. No one remembered donating. No one remembered seeing the money reach its supposed target. I mentioned it to a guy from the board. He looked confused, said he thought someone else handled the money. I asked if anyone had audited the books. He said they trusted Greg. That was all I needed. At home I stayed normal. We made dinner. Watched shows. Claire noticed I was more focused. She said it felt like I had something under control again. I told her I did, that for the first time in months I was not reacting to Greg. I was preparing for him. She asked what I wanted out of it. I said nothing. I just wanted it to stop. The performance. The slow erosion of decency masked as charm. She nodded. Said she trusted me. I kept my head down and my ears open. Greg kept performing. Kept hosting. Kept making jokes that hovered 1 inch above inappropriate. But I saw the tells. The pauses when someone did not laugh. The way his wife looked down every time he made a comment about another woman. The stiffness in his shoulders when I walked into a room and said nothing. I waited. Like you wait for a fruit to ripen. Like you wait for a lie to finally sag under its own weight. And when the next barbecue came, I made sure I was ready. Not with fists. Not with shouting. With truth. In digital form. Printed form. Unignorable. Undeniable. And I had just the moment picked out to deliver it. Not to him. To the people who had made him bulletproof. Because if you want to collapse a mask, you do not tear it off. You hold up a mirror and let the world see who is really smiling underneath. The barbecue came 2 weeks later. Greg sent out the invite like always. Printed flyers in mailboxes. Friendly font. Fire pit. Cider. Food. Music. He liked attention. Liked being the center of it. I circled the date. Not because I was excited. Because I was ready. I did not sleep much the night before. Not because I was nervous. Because I had already made peace with it. The morning of the party I printed everything. Not just the photos. The vendor reports. The fundraising numbers. Screenshots of the comments. Dates. Times. Locations. Public records. I packaged them neatly. One for the board. One for his wife. One for the neighbor whose wife had a little too much history with Greg's late-night emojis. No note. No dramatic message. Just facts. Clean and precise. I put them in envelopes. Unmarked. No fingerprints, no signature. Just quiet weight. Claire asked if I was sure. I said yes. She said do it clean. No fire. No mess. I said that is the only way I do anything. We showed up like always. Potato salad. Folding chairs. A bottle of wine. Greg greeted everyone like he always did. Big voice. Big smile. Big performance. He saw me. Smiled. Nodded. I nodded back. But I saw it. That flicker. He remembered the last thing I said. I knew he did. The first hour was normal. Music. Laughter. Paper plates and small talk. Greg turned on the charm. Telling stories. Complimenting outfits. Too many glances at women that were not his wife. Claire stayed close. Not out of fear. Out of calm. She wanted to see it. The unraveling. Around sunset, I excused myself. Walked to the board president's car. Slid the envelope under the driver's seat. Next, the mailbox of Greg's house. Then one more on a bench where I knew the other man would sit before heading home. I did not linger. I did not watch them find it. I just walked back, poured a drink and waited. 10 minutes later, Greg's wife got a call. She stepped away, came back pale. Tight smile, stiff shoulders. Then she pulled Greg aside, whispered something sharp. His face dropped. He scanned the yard like someone had pulled the rug out from under him. Next, the board president left early. No goodbye, just an awkward wave. The neighbor's husband read his envelope right there, then stood up, walked straight to Greg, and said something I could not hear. But the silence that followed was loud. People turned. Conversation stalled. Greg stood frozen, then forced a laugh. Said something about jokes. No one laughed. His wife disappeared into the house. 15 minutes later, their bedroom light turned on. She did not come back. Greg tried to carry the rest of the night, but the volume was off, the timing broken. His smile looked like a crack in drywall. We stayed another 20 minutes, helped clean up a few dishes, said our goodbyes. Greg did not meet my eyes. Claire thanked him for the evening, said nothing else. When we got home, I took off my shoes, sat on the porch and listened to the wind. Claire sat beside me, She said, "You really did it." I said, "No, he did it. I just stopped protecting the illusion." She asked if I felt better. I said, "No, I feel finished." The next morning, Greg's house was quiet. The truck was gone. His wife's car stayed parked for 3 days. After that, it disappeared too. Rumors started. Some said separation, some said fraud. I said nothing, just nodded. Neighbors looked at me differently. Not with fear, with understanding. Like they saw something now they had not seen before. Not about him, about me. About how far someone will go when you mistake their silence for weakness. I did not need an apology. I did not need revenge. I needed peace. And sometimes the only way to find it is to stop shielding people from the truth they built themselves to hide. Greg never came to the next board meeting. Someone else stood in his place. The president opened by thanking him for his past contributions and moved on without a pause. His name was not mentioned again. The cleanup was quiet. His wife was gone. The house still looked perfect, but it felt empty. A shell. Polished but hollow. I passed it on my morning walks. Lights off. Curtains closed. The kind of silence you do not fix, you just leave behind. A few weeks later, a for sale sign appeared. 2 months after that, the house was empty. New neighbors moved in. Young couple. Friendly. They smiled without performing. Claire baked them cookies. I helped them move a dresser. Life moved on. No one brought up Greg. The street felt lighter. Not louder. Just cleaner. Like a storm had passed and no one wanted to relive the wind. I never told anyone what I did. I never admitted it. Not because I was ashamed. Because I did not need credit for undoing a lie. I told Claire the folder was gone. She nodded. Said she never needed to see it anyway. We sat on the porch that night, autumn coming in. Leaves dry and ready to fall. She looked at me and said, "I know you did not enjoy it." I said no. But I did need it. She said I never realized how calm you could be in destruction. I said sometimes the cleanest cuts are the quietest. She took my hand. We sat in silence for a long time. I thought about how easy it would have been to yell, to fight, to accuse, but then you would have played the victim, made it a misunderstanding. Called it a joke again. That was never going to happen. Because the truth is, when someone mocks what you love and wraps it in charm, they are not teasing you. They are testing you, seeing how much you will let slide, how much of your dignity you will trade for peace. I had done that before, bit my tongue, swallowed my pride, told myself I was keeping things calm. But calm built on humiliation is not peace, it is paralysis. And I was done being still. I never wanted to destroy him. I just wanted him unmasked, to see how he looked in the daylight without the performance. And now he was gone. Not ruined, just revealed. And that was enough. I do not hate him. I do not miss him. I do not think about him. Because the moment I stopped letting his noise echo inside me, he stopped existing in any way that mattered. And that, more than any speech or confrontation, was the ending I needed.